if you want to achieve any level of success, it has nothing to do with where you're from, where you grew up, what school you went to, how tall you are. Nothing matters about achieving success other than how bad you want it and the work that you're willing to put into it. That's all that matters.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man.
If you vibe gon' hit you, people who ride with you, get it live, who can paint that picture?
Let's
Ain't
get
no
ready
way
to
who's in it, just my niggas is kid who's still got stitches.
And here we go. First episode of the Royer Rumble. Thank you everyone for joining. And I just bear with me. This is my first episode, so I don't know what I'm doing. I figure if there's anything I know how to bullshit my way out of, it's just talking. So what I want to do is I wanted to come up with a platform that I create, and I want to have an opportunity to just speak about things that I'm passionate about, invite guests on that know what they're talking about, they're passionate about what they're talking about, and the whole premise behind the name Royer Rumble is it's conversation with chaos. Nothing's left off the table. Nothing could, any topic could be talked about, debated on in a respectful manner. But I love having an opportunity to learn, love having an opportunity to share. So what I want to do is just start this first episode by thanking everyone that's listening, then also just kind of get into my story. A lot of people know a little bit about it, but I wanted to just kind of start from square one about who I am, what I am, and just kind of this crazy thing called life that I'm trying to figure out day by day. So Nick Royer, Nicholas James Royer, born February 17th, 1986, share the same birthday with Michael Jordan, David Goggins, and I got to fact check this, but I think Jim Brown has February 17th birthday as well. Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Unbelievable upbringing. Wait, hang on. I got to get to the glasses too. A lot of you guys are asking about the glasses. These glasses are from a close friend of mine who also happens to be the most entertaining, exciting, charismatic, styling, profiling, absolute best announcer and TV personality for the UFC, the Schmo. The Schmo personally gave me these glasses, and so that's where they're from. Why not start off the first episode with Ric Flair? Anyways, I just had to address that real quick. All right, so Cleveland, Ohio, upbringing. You guys could tell how ADD I am. Cleveland, Ohio, unbelievable upbringing. I kind of compare it to the movie Sandlot. All of us growing up, like, played together. Like, all me and my neighbors were all around the same age. We all played together every day, competed together. Very, like, blue collar, I would say. It's a suburb outside of Cleveland. And I just remember the upbringing. We were always happy. We always focused on what we did have as opposed to what we didn't have. But I would say my entrepreneurial spirit started when I was a few years old. I needed money for the ice cream truck. Ice cream truck came around every single day in the summer. I asked my mom money for the ice cream truck. She said no. She politely declined. And then me and my brother and I, who's 2 years older than me, I was his shadow. Everywhere he went, I went. And I remember we started knocking doors. We started knocking doors with the intent and objective to just get enough money for the ice cream truck. Everyone said no. Sure enough, the last door that we knocked, the neighbor said he'd give us $5 to cut his grass. So I'll never forget the importance. There's a defining moment. Some people have 2, some people have 22, some people have 2022 defining moments they have in their lives. I call them the DMs. And that was a defining moment in my life where I'll never forget how I realized how much hard work pays off, how much persistence pays off, how much it pays off to be motivated and determined. So even though I was a few years old, I will never forget that feeling of how bad it sucked knocking doors, but how good it felt getting $5 from one of my neighbors. So I got money for the ice cream truck. And then when about my childhood, I was always very active. I played a sport every season. I played baseball in the spring. I played basketball in the winter, played soccer or football in the fall. And I was super active and then went into high school. There's 3 all-boy private high schools in the city of Cleveland. I went to one of them. It's called Benedictine High School. It's an all-boy Catholic high school. I thought I would hate it. Turns out it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I absolutely loved it. It's a brotherhood that we, really cherish and we really value a lot. But we were an absolute powerhouse in football. So I tried out for the football team, and as to be part of the football team, it's completely non-negotiable that you have to work out. You have to work out. You have to show up to every workout, and if you don't, you will not be on the team. So summer going into freshman year of high school, I started working out. Keep in mind, I'm like 5'1", 115 pounds, dripping wet. And I realized real quick and real fast that I was not going to make it on the football team. However, one of my favorite quotes is, "For every dark cloud, there's a silver lining." So the silver lining out of that, even though I wasn't big enough, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't fast enough, was that I just kept working out because I remember the feeling it gave me. I remember I felt good about myself. I remember it made me feel more confident about myself. And keep in mind, when you're going through high school, you're very vulnerable as far as, not just in general, you're just at a vulnerable time in your life. And I just remember the feeling that I had when I was working out. And mind you, when I first started lifting, the barbell, when you're benching or pulling or curling a barbell, weighs 45 pounds. I wasn't strong enough to barely lift the bar. But I remember that day by day, week by week, month by month, even though I wasn't making it as an athlete, I kept getting a little bit stronger. The number one reason why I think people quit in relationships, quit jobs, quit school, quit anything in life is because of lack of progress. I'll never forget having a little bit of progress every week that I was lifting. It kept me coming back. It kept me wanting to come back. I had that desire to always keep doing more because of the way progress made me feel. And freshman year, I bench press 135 pounds one time. That's where you have a 45-pound plate on each side of the bar. I did that one time by my freshman year. Sophomore year, I bench pressed 265 pounds one time. My junior year, I bench pressed 315 pounds one time. So by the grace of God, I entered a local powerlifting competition, and there are local competitions that you enter. It's drug-free powerlifting. You compete against kids your own age and weight class. And I did my first ever competition. I got disqualified because I didn't understand there's actually rules to powerlifting. So I got disqualified on rule technicality because I didn't understand really how it worked. I remember I was changing in the locker room, and a guy approached me and said, "Hey, I noticed that you've got some strength, but you really don't have a good idea and concept of form and technique and the rules. So I actually have a powerlifting team that I train, and I would like to invite you in to train with us and train under me. I'm not going to charge you anything. So why don't you just come on Monday and check it out?" The meet was on a Saturday. I remember I said, "Yeah, why not? I got nothing to lose." Drove to his gym Monday after school, and he sat me down and had a conversation with me. And he said, "I'm going to put you through some training that's going to be absolutely brutal. But we have a special thing at this gym. We've got a really good culture. We've got great energy. Everyone here is nice. They're caring. And I'm going to take you under my wing, and I'm going to train you. And I will invest a lot of time and resources into being your trainer. But we've got a couple non-negotiables that we have here at the gym. One non-negotiable is that you can never say the words 'I can't.' At any point, if I ever hear you say the words 'I can't,' you'll be asked to never come back to the gym." The next thing is that if you're ever late for a workout, then that's a complete slap in the face, and it's the most disrespectful thing you could do is disrespect my time, because I run a business and I'm married and I've got a baby. So the most disrespectful thing you could do to me is show up late to a workout, because that's you telling me that I'm not important enough for you. And he set the tone. That set the tone. And we started training, we started working out, and I'll never forget how hard these workouts were. If I was to describe to you these workouts, I would probably say things, to you guys, to the audience. You guys might have any clue or idea what we're talking about. But powerlifting consists of 3 lifts: the bench, the squat, and the deadlift. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with that. And there's rules to every lift. So powerlifting is essentially mind over matter. You have to combine speed and you have to combine strength, and speed and strength equals power. So he started introducing me, my trainer, his name is Vic. He started introducing me to these workouts where I was adding resistance to every single exercise I was doing. For example, if we would do a bench press workout, we would add 100 pounds of resistance bands to the bar along with 80 pounds of chains, and I would lift against it. That's just one example of a ton I could give you. And so what it does is when your mind and body are fighting resistance, you're getting more resilient, your mind and your body. And so it's training your mind that you have to fight against something. You have to go against something. You have to, be resilient and tough against something. You can't just go up to a bar and lift the bar. And so over time, when you add a lot of structure to these workouts where you're adding resistance, you get really, really strong. So that's kind of the art of powerlifting. Now that's the physical aspect of it. And then you have the mental aspect where you are training your mind. Okay. You are training your mind to attack the weight, and you have to get yourself to a space where you are in complete harmony and peace with what you're doing, but you have to channel that with aggression. And I know that kind of sounds like it's completely opposite ends of the spectrum, which it essentially is. But in powerlifting, I had to find a way to put myself in such a dark place to motivate me, but I would have to keep myself at peace with whatever I'm thinking about, because if I get too amped up, I would exhaust or exert too much energy before I would do the actual lift. So I don't know if any of that makes sense, but after years of training, this is one of the biggest defining moments I ever had in my life. I remember the first meet that I competed in after his training, I broke a state record. And then I remember the next meet I re-broke the state record that I broke. And then a year later, I became a national champion, and I broke a national bench press record. And I started this, mind you, when I was 16 years old. When I was 18 years old, I did something that I will forever hold on to and be grateful of and be proud of myself for, because I did something that at one point in my life seemed like it was beyond, not even beyond my reach, but unattainable, unfathomable, unrealistic. I broke a world bench press record for my age and weight class. I weighed 162 pounds. I bench pressed 401 pounds. And talk about a defining moment, talk about a high in my personal life as far as confidence, as far as self-esteem. That was the epitome of what taught me hard work, dedication, but more importantly, the obsession. When you become obsessed with something, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to the end result. You don't stop when you're tired, you stop when you're done. That's the David Goggins that he instilled upon me. Powerlifting really taught me a lot about who I am and what I am. And it was a learning experience that I will forever be grateful of and proud of myself for. So, mind you, I went to a Catholic school, academics, they take really serious, education is top notch, but I did not care at all about getting an education. I didn't care at all about doing my homework. I didn't care about getting good grades. I didn't care about school other than making friends. And I didn't go to school with girls, so I didn't have skirts to look up at all day, and I didn't have girls to flirt with. So I'm at all boys school, and I'm just there to make friends. And I did. Some of my best friends to this day, my business partner, my best friend to this day, are guys that I met in high school. So keep in mind, I'm making friends, and I'm confident, but at the same time, I'm not getting good grades. So after high school, I applied to a couple schools, and I didn't get in. So I'm coping with the feeling of failure where I didn't get into any college. At the same time, I'm coping with this self-esteem, high self-esteem and high confidence I have in myself because of what I accomplished in powerlifting. So I'm kind of like in limbo. So I started working a bunch of jobs because I didn't get into school. And I was going to community college at the time, and I was working several jobs at once. At one point, I was a personal trainer. I was working as a carpenter in the union. I was working at Abercrombie & Fitch, selling clothes. I did some caddying. What else did I do? A couple other odds and ends. Started washing dishes at an Italian restaurant, and then got bumped up to making pizzas at that same Italian restaurant. So I did a few things. And I remember after a year of doing that, so now I'm a year out of high school, about 19 years old, I had a conversation with myself. I was taking night classes at the community college because I was working all day at one of those 5 jobs I just listed off. And I was going to community college at night. And I remember I came home, I got in my car, and started driving home. I was living with my parents, and I said to myself out loud, what are you doing with your life? And I just remember the feeling that I had when I started talking to myself out loud. So some people, it's like, you must be crazy. But I remember that. I remember how important it was to hear my voice say that to myself. And one thing I'll share with you guys is that the most important conversation you have with anyone in your life, your spouse, your kid, your higher power, your kid, your dog, your buddy, your mailman, the most important conversation you have with anyone in life is yourself. And I specifically remember when I asked myself, what are you doing with your life? I answered, well, I don't know. And then I asked myself, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I can't do school much longer because I can't take it. Being in a classroom, being inside four walls, sitting still for an extended period of time, it gives me anxiety. There's something about sitting in a classroom that just makes my skin crawl. And it's not a knock against teachers. It's not a knock against the system. I'm just not built like that. One of my best friends, Pat Kenny, says, you know what, Nick Royer, you know what you are? He goes, you're an outside cat. He goes, someone asked me to describe Nick Royer. I said, I don't know what else to say about him other than he's an outside cat. I'm an outside cat. I like to be out. I'm not a wanderer. I'm not a drifter. I live my life with purpose, but I cannot sit still. And I remember the anxiety I had going to community college. And I also remember the feeling of like spinning the wheels. I'm not getting anywhere, like a hamster, like a gerbil on a wheel. I'm just like running. I'm not doing anything productive other than exerting energy that's not paying off. So I decided at that point when I had that conversation with myself that I would go into the fitness industry full time and work as a trainer because I was passionate about fitness. I liked helping people. And I was like, I had that but I had that drive as a competitive powerlifter. So I started working as a gym, started as a trainer. Then I started selling training. Then I started selling memberships. Then I started consulting gyms. One thing leads to another. I started working for a small, privately held gym. And then the first time I moved out of my house, I moved to Louisville, Kentucky when I was 20 years old. So again, keep in mind, guys, I didn't go away to college. So living away from home, I never done that before. So I'm 2 years after high school. I get this job opportunity to work for a gym in Louisville, Kentucky called Urban Active Fitness. Urban Active, LA Fitness purchased Urban Active. So it's a bigger, well-known, popular gym in the community. And at that time, there was only 33 locations. They were scattered across Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, just a few states. So that's when I started to understand more about the sales process, building rapport, understanding, because I'm selling memberships in person. And hundreds of people are coming into the gym on a daily basis. Now, I came from working at a privately held gym. It was 5,000 square feet. There was probably 50 people that would work out on a daily basis. And I was literally calling people from a phone book to get them to come in and tour the gym and sign on a 3-year contract to join a gym membership. That was tough. So then I go to Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm in this gym. I'm in a new city I'd never been to before. And I'm in this gym. It's 70,000 square feet. There's 600 to 700 people at the gym working out at a time. It was just absurd how it was like the big leagues to me. And the first full month I was with the company, I was the number one salesperson in the company. And now this is a defining moment in my life because I'm putting in an environment that I've never been to before as far as like being in a new city for the first time. And to be able to adapt that fast taught me that it doesn't matter what your upbringing is because I'm working with people that have a college degree. I'm working with people that have been selling memberships longer than me. But I remember it taught me how nothing else really matters in life when it comes to accomplishing something other than really how bad you want it and the work that you put into it. And here I am now as 20-year-old, and I'm learning more about myself. And I'm just kind of like building, I guess, more confidence within myself and what I'm able to do. And sales was very fulfilling. And then I moved to Columbus, Ohio to pursue an opportunity to sell advertising. That didn't work out. Then I went back into the fitness industry. Then I started consulting gyms. So I lived in 4 states in 4 years, going into gyms that were financially struggling, and I would completely flip them and turn them around, and they would be profiting tens of thousands of dollars a month within months that I was there. So now here I am doing this consulting gig, and then here comes life. My girlfriend at the time, I broke up with her after dating her for a few months. She told me a couple weeks after that we broke up that she was pregnant. Thought she was full of shit. Turns out she wasn't. She was pregnant with our daughter, Ariana. And I'm like panicking because I'm 25 years old at the time. I'm 24 at the time. I'm just figuring life out. I'm just finally on a positive like momentum kick where I'm like making a little bit of money, saving a little bit of money. And then my ex-girlfriend gets pregnant. So I grew up, I don't want to say like hardcore Catholic, but I would say like conservative Catholic. Went to church, went to Catholic school my whole life. Went to church every Sunday with my family up until I graduated high school. That was like a rule in the family. It's like if you live, my dad had the rule like if you live in this home, we're going to church on Sunday. Otherwise, find another place to live. That was kind of like the premise. So relatively active in the Catholic Church. And I remember I felt like a failure getting my girlfriend pregnant when like that's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to go to school and then get married and then have a kid and then buy a house and all that stuff. So I'm like so against the norm. So my daughter's mom and I ended up getting back together, had our daughter in Columbus, Ohio. Then my brother was a Marine Corps pilot at the time, and he went on a deployment. I got a job opportunity to go to Florida when I was consulting health clubs, and I proposed to my daughter's mom before we left for Florida, and Ariana was like 6 months old at the time. We were engaged until my brother got back from his deployment. We got married when Ariana, our daughter, was 2 years old, and then I was divorced a year and a half later. So all this is going on, living life, doing my thing, working, and then all of a sudden when Ari was, I forget, I got to like go back and fact check. I should have done a better job preparing, but we got married, and then shortly before we got married, I had an opportunity to move to Dallas, Texas, because I got rid of the fitness industry. And a guy that I grew up with in Cleveland that I was friends with throughout high school, he gave me an opportunity to move to Dallas, Texas, because he had partnered with a roofer. So a guy that I knew owned part of a roof. He was part owner in a roofing company, but he didn't have a roofing background. So I called him when I got pretty much tapped out and burnt out of the fitness industry. And I said, hey, what are you doing in Dallas? What's it like there? And he goes, man, the city's awesome. It's growing. But I own this roofing company. I think you should try it out. I said, what's it all about? He said, it's pretty wild. We get hailstorms here. And after a hailstorm impacts a house, we get the insurance company to cover a replacement. And then we just contract all the work out. So I was like, it's really interesting. Now, mind you, all you listeners in Dallas, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I'd never seen or I'd never experienced a hailstorm before. So I don't know what hail is. I've never seen it, never experienced it before. So I moved here to shadow the position, learn about the opportunity. And a week later, we get a softball-sized hailstorm, an F3 tornado comes through Dallas. And that's when I saw hail. And it was wild to witness baseball-sized snowballs coming at a velocity of 100 miles per hour, impacting and damaging people's properties. It was absolutely crazy to me. So I started just selling. Took advantage of the opportunity. I moved here at the end of March in 2012. And by the end of the year, there was 30 sales reps with that company. And I had become like a top 3 performer in the company. So we start out 2013, clean slate. Everyone starts at zero. And I became the top producer in that company. And as a token of gratitude, the owner of that company took me out to my favorite restaurant, still probably my favorite restaurant in Dallas, one of them, top 3 for sure, called Albernays. Takes me to this restaurant, says, you know what? If we had 10 Nick Royers, we retire in a couple years, keep doing what you're doing. We like you, we love you, we appreciate you. Here's a Rolex. So, mind you, I'd never seen a Rolex before. So if I've never seen a Rolex before, I'd never held a Rolex before. I just know Rolex is a really nice watch that rich people wear. That was my perception of it. And he gives me this Rolex, and now I think I'm like on top of the world. Call my friends, call my family, brag, boast about this watch that I have because now I really made it in life. I'm that much more invested, that much more committed working with the company that I was with at the time. And then I find out the next day that the watch is fake. Oh, my God. Defining moment of my life. Given a fake Rolex from my old boss. So, you know, people go through life and, you know, you have what's called a threshold where you get to a point where you are sick and tired of putting up with whatever you're putting up with. If you're in a relationship, you get cheated on one too many times, you hit your threshold. You want to lose weight, step on the scale, look down, you see a number, you hit your threshold, now you start working out. Or family member you hear has a heart attack because they're super out of shape and unhealthy. That was when you hit your threshold of wanting to get healthy. So everyone has a threshold in life and certain things that they tolerate and they won't tolerate. And I think the best way to articulate it is that I was at a point in my life where I was proud of what I had accomplished and what I had gone through, that I hit my threshold when I was given a fake Rolex because I don't know how else to describe it other than I knew I was better than that. I knew I was better than being with a guy that obviously didn't value me to spend a few $1,000 on a real watch to prove to me how thankful and appreciative he was. So I called my best friend at the time and I told him the story and he said, don't worry about it. We'll just start a roofing company. I said, man, you're looking too much into it, man. I was calling you to vent. I wasn't calling you to like ask to start a company. He's like, no, I get that, but I think you're looking too into it. I think that you need to just focus on selling like you do, and I'll focus on the operations role side of the business, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to start a roofing company. And the best way to get the revenge that you're looking for is just by massive success. And that's when it all started, of the journey of starting my own business. Just like being a parent, I remember getting a couple books when Ariana's mom was pregnant. And I remember trying to read a couple books. And after the first chapter, I just like threw it away because I just couldn't. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't like relate to these books. I was just like, you know what? I guess I'll just figure it out. And when you really care about something that you love and you're passionate about, you just kind of have the mentality like you'll just figure it out and nothing will get in the way. And that's when I became obsessed with building a company and coming up with a brand that I'm proud of. So we built this company, this roofing company, based here in Dallas, Texas. And the first year, it was just me and Mike, my business partner. And I did all the sales. He did all the operate. He sold too, but he's not naturally a salesman. And the second year, we got a couple people on board, but the third year is when we started to have like a lot of progress. We were comfortable and confident with where we're at as a company that we felt comfortable to move a lot of guys we grew up with in Ohio to learn how to door knock and generate leads and generate their own book of business. So I'm the door knocker. That's my personal strength. And I trained pretty much all the guys that moved here from Ohio and got them acclimated to the process. And the big thing about sales, especially about door-to-door sales, is you got one time, one chance, one shot your entire life to make a good first impression. So from the way that you stand, to the way that you talk, to the way that your shirt fits you, to the way that your shoes fit you, and the way you tie your shoes, and what kind of belt buckle you have on, everything you're saying says everything about you. Everything you're doing says everything about you. People are subconsciously judging you, and within 10 seconds that you're talking to them, people do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. And all this goes into this factor of like door-to-door sales and how to be highly effective at it. A couple months after I got the team trained on how to knock doors, we got hit with 2 catastrophic hailstorms within 5 weeks of each other. And this is what catapulted our business. So since our third year in business, we have just been absolutely on an unbelievable path of success. We have failed our way to success every day. Last year, we did over 1,000 roof replacements. We have a top-tier rated roofing company based in Dallas, Texas, but we go nationwide for any type of commercial roof projects that you have. Now, on a personal side, let's see. I got divorced. Ariana's 12. We got divorced when Ariana was like 3.5. So I have just been traveling the world. I have been living life, been doing a lot of fun things, crazy things, wild things. And I'm here to kind of tell you, all about it. Nothing left unsaid. And I want to be an open book. I want to be, first off, a testament to anyone out there. Not saying that I'm successful at all, but I do want to be a testament to all you listeners out there that if you want to achieve any level of success, it has nothing to do with where you're from, where you grew up, what school you went to, how tall you are. You could be tall, short, skinny, fat, white, black, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, vaccinated, unvaccinated. Nothing matters. Nothing matters about achieving success other than how bad you want it and what you're willing to do and the work that you're willing to put into it. That's all that matters. That's all it comes down to. You hear about billionaires talking about how they grew up homeless. You talk about, you hear about these massive success stories and how that people got there. And 7 out of 10 millionaires didn't grow up being a millionaire. They created it. They believed in it. They worked for it. They manifested it. They achieved such a high level of success because they had an absolute, undeniable, relentless work ethic that they wouldn't take no for an answer. And that's really what inspires me. And what continues to inspire me is people that have achieved way more than I have and grew up with way less than I had. I grew up with an unbelievable upbringing, but don't let them misconstrue you into thinking I was raised with a silver spoon. I grew up in a 1,200 square foot house. I have 2 parents that have been married for almost 50 years. I'm one of 4 kids. I shared a room with my brother from the time I was born until he graduated high school. So I'm not painting the picture that I grew up poor. I mean, we had a roof over our head and we had food on the table, but we didn't have much after that. We didn't really go on vacations as kids. We didn't have a lot of nice things, but we had each other. And that to me is having the most unbelievable upbringing ever, is having parents that love you, that are married and committed to each other, having siblings that love you, that look out for you. To me, that's the most blessed upbringing that anybody can ever ask for. And I had that. And I hear people that are worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions, that grew up and their parents were divorced, that grew up and they had to scrap and wonder where their next meal was going to come from. And that's what inspires me. But getting back to life, I mean, I'm super passionate about fitness. I have been. I always will be. I love helping people with any type of guidance that they have. Or I'm sorry, people that look to me for guidance for health tips. And I'm not a certified trainer, but I am genuinely passionate about fitness and sharing what works for me. I'm fascinated with fitness. I'm fascinated with real estate. I started investing in single-family real estate about 6 years ago, and then I transitioned to investing in multifamily real estate a couple years ago. I'm completely fascinated with real estate and how there's so many ways to do it, so many ways to achieve success from so many different types of real estate. So I consider myself a student of real estate, but I'm also investing in it as well. And I'm at a point in my life where I would love for people to come on here, take this platform, share their story, talk about the wins, but more so talk about the losses, talk about things they've accomplished, but also talk about, a lot of their failures. And I will promise to always be as transparent as I could possibly be, as vulnerable as I possibly be. I'll share with you guys that I was raised more with an Italian and Greek upbringing. I am my mother's child, so I'm sensitive, I'm emotional, I'm dramatic, I'm animated. You're going to hear me and you're going to see me yell and scream and shout. You're definitely going to see me cry. That's a given. And I just love opening up to my audience and just using this as an opportunity to get to know you guys more and take guests on here that could really help you inspire, to help inspire you to just be the best version of yourself. I was asked to speak at a college course last week from a close friend of mine, and there was a lot of Q&A after the speech, and I was very grateful and appreciative to talk to this college class. It was a marketing class. And one of the questions that one of the students asked me when I was done is, she said, like, you do all this work and you do all this self-improvement and self-development. Like, what's your why? Like, why do you do it? And it's amazing when you get really good questions asked from people in person, as opposed to like an email or a text or a DM from someone. But when she asked me that, I had never thought about that before. I think about it sometimes, but my immediate answer was, I think my goal in life is to continue to be the best version of myself, inspire others to be the best version of themselves, and I want my daughter to look at me like I'm just an awesome human being. I think that's my biggest why. So I encourage you guys to ask me questions, get to know me more. I want to get to know you more, come up with topics you want me to talk about. But listen, I have failed my way to success. I look at life as a bunch of buckets. You got a bunch of buckets, a bunch of categories that essentially control and dictate your life. You've got relationships. You got that bucket, relationship with your friends, family, your spouse, your significant other. You got your faith. And if every bucket you look at, you take your level of fulfillment, and that's water. So if you've got a halfway full bucket of water, that means, you're halfway fulfilled with that respective aspect of your life. So you got relationships, you've got faith, you've got finances, money, you've got career or your job, what you do for a living, friendships, your health, your fitness. And I would say that I'm at a point in my life where I would say every aspect, every bucket of my life is overflowing with fulfillment. The relationship one, I haven't figured that one out yet. We'll talk about that. We could talk about my dating history. I'm not going to shy away anything. We'll talk about my dating history. I have a tendency to self-sabotage, ruin good things that I thought shouldn't have been ruined, but everything happens for a reason. Like, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I'm the furthest person. I'm so far from perfect. I'm the furthest from perfect. I make more mistakes. I probably made 1,000 more mistakes than you, the listener, has made in your life. But I think I know who I am and what I am, and that's my definition of being full. When you're full, in my opinion, I think that's when you know who you are and you know what you are. So I consider myself full. I'm not lost. I'm not confused. I know the direction and the path that I want to continue going in my life. But when I say that I'm full, to you guys, that doesn't mean that I'm perfect. No, I'm the furthest thing from perfect. When I say I'm full, that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. No, I make more mistakes every day than you guys do multiplied combined. Like, that's not what I mean. To me, I think when you're full, you just know who you are and what you are. And I know what I am. I'm a guy that's very passionate about what he does. I love helping people. I love the fulfillment that I get from genuinely helping people. I'm absolutely infatuated, and I have an unhealthy amount of love for my daughter, Ariana. I have the most loyal friends I could ever ask for. I live a life that I could have never manifested in my wildest dreams. But that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. That doesn't mean that I won't continue to make mistakes. But I know who I am. I know what I am. And I think that once you get to that point in your life where you are full, that's a really good feeling to have. So I want to encourage you guys to share this podcast. I appreciate all you listeners out there. I am so excited. I will tell you, get ready for a good time, because I don't want to leave anything off the table. I want to talk about things that are controversial. I want to talk about things that are popular to talk about, not popular to talk. I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about all those buckets that I talked about: health, fitness, wellness, money, career, finances, relationships, faith, conspiracy theories. I want to talk about it all. And I'm going to get unbelievable guests that will give really good insight to who they are, their story, share their success stories, and also talk about some really crazy stuff. And I'm open to it all. So you tell me what you want to listen to. I'll set it up. I'll line it up. But get ready for a ride because we're going to have some fun. Thank you guys so much for listening. Nick, I'm out.